Hello again, I am Blunty. For return viewers on this channel, you've likely seen this footage a couple of times already. It's my own experiments with trying to create a close visual match for Cyberpunk 2077's Switch 2 presentation with PC settings. And I think most people would agree it's a decently close match. Not perfect, as I freely admitted originally when I first presented these. The upscaling in my footage was Intel's XeSS, while the Switch 2 is using some as yet still vague implementation of DLSS. But it served the purpose for which I was creating it for. However, while in the very short clips I had to try and match did come out okay, now we have even more Switch 2 direct capture footage, some of the best we have had, in fact, and mercifully consisting of longer clips, so we can get an even better look. And it is blowing people's minds, because it looks kind of amazing. It's from a well-known Japanese gaming magazine's YouTube channel, Den Family Gamer, probably pronounced that wrong, and while neither the video nor its description detail the precise provenance of the clips, they're clearly direct capture from some kind of press demo they were given. And if you doubt it's from a Nintendo Switch just by glancing at it thinking, oh, that looks too good for Switch, look at the on-screen button prompts and labels. Even the D-pad prompts are split up into those little buttons they have on the left Joy-Con so you can use it sideways as a controller. The video was titled, over to you, Google Translate text-to-speech.
Nintendo Switch 2番 Cyberpunk 2077ゲームプレイ映像ジョイコンを振って刀やマンティスブレードで敵をめった切りにする。モーション操作や直感的にエイムできるジャイロ操作にも対応。
And before I dig into the meat of it all, just quickly, while using Google Live Translate for their descriptive text overlays, because there's no voiceover in that video, I noticed a confirmation of something I speculated about last week in a video. It seems that, yes indeed, I was correct, motion-controlled activation of melee skills is a thing. Waggle mechanics live again. Love them or hate them. I guess you don't have to use them. They do seem to still trigger the preset animations and aren't free-flowing one-for-one replication of your real-life movements, which is what I predicted it would be. So, Blunty gets it right again. That's pretty neat. I'll put on my smug face. Now though, thanks to one nice extended clip of a particular early game dialogue scene with Johnny Silverhand, I can once more run my Switch 2 matched PC settings side by side. And this is the clearest demonstration yet of just how mind-blowingly good that DLSS actually is. In general, my matched settings still hold. Resolution, shadows, lighting, volumetrics, ambient occlusion, all that kind of stuff is a pretty decent match. But this clip demonstrates the vast leap the Switch 2's DLSS implementation is above the Intel XeSS that I was using in my own clips to get a match for the other shorter high-motion clips. It is genuinely incredible looking at this, just how far amiss the upscaling in my Switch 2 fake footage gameplay wound up being. Like, I knew it wasn't as good. My original footage showed us that in much subtler ways, but this, it's bloody night and day. Oh, and yeah, by the way, matching these clips' animations precisely is damn near impossible thanks to the difference in delivery of the Japanese voice lines versus the English ones, so that's what's going on there. That's why they're not precisely matched up the entire way through the clip. Also, you might notice my camera angle was the default one that's set when you sit down for this chat. I didn't move it, and I thought that was the right plan, but it seems the Japanese footage had adjusted the camera a little lower, or perhaps the Switch 2 version itself just reframes this scene slightly differently. I don't know. I did also play through this scene on my Xbox Series X version too, where the camera matched my PC gameplay, just for the record, but on that notion, here's the Switch 2 footage side by side with the Xbox Series X version of the game in performance mode. The Xbox version is the best looking version of the other two consoles. The PS5 actually has slightly more consistent frame rates. It runs a little bit smoother, and I'm talking fractionally, by the way, but at the cost of running at slightly lower internal resolutions before it upscales to 4K output. At least according to the Digital Foundry peeps, who did a detailed suite of testing on these next-gen versions a couple of years back when they arrived. So yeah, this is the Series X using FSR2 to upscale to 4K from a dynamic internal render that floats somewhere between 1440p and 1800p. And of course, it's no shock at all that the Xbox version looks obviously better. No one was expecting otherwise. But I have to tell you, it is a closer match than I was anticipating. So, just for poops and giggles, I ran the test again, this time against my PC version with the ultra ray tracing settings on, at 4K, but still using DLSS to dynamically upscale to lock in 60 FPS. This is the way I would normally play the game. There's actually not much obviously dramatic ray tracing stuff going on in this particular scene. Without many point light sources or neon in particular, or wet and especially reflective surfaces. Instead, you'll see it most in the shadow casting. But again, while the difference is very obvious, it's still remarkable how solidly the Switch 2 version is holding its own here, considering the expectations we have, for years now, had set up by Switch 1 ports of games we've seen in other systems. There is a much, much larger gap with those. The Switch 2 is obviously closing that gap by quite a margin. So yeah, back to the drawing board as it were. I took another whack at matching the Switch 2 presentation based on this new, longer material, and I did get a little closer. It's still not perfect. I'm still having to use DLSS because the AMD RX 7900 XTX in my main rig simply doesn't have access to the NVIDIA hardware-locked DLSS stuff. So there's a little artifacting from DLSS that the DLSS doesn't suffer from, and the details on textures are a little sharper in mine. Like, look at the texture of the seat, for example, that leatherette texture. Much clearer in mine. But the Switch 2 gameplay has a kind of softer look, but it's also noticeably cleaner as well. Sort of a more natural softness, almost. Despite losing a few finer details, I like it aesthetically better than my PC matched settings here. It's kind of hard to quantify at the end of the day, but the Switch 2 version does look slightly better than even I had originally set up for, which is kind of crazy to me still. I can't help but feel like Cyberpunk 2077 Switch 2 port is going to be one of those games that just really sticks around as a flagship, as a line in the sand, as a high watermark, something we keep going back to again and again and again as a point of reference, especially when other games released on the Switch 2 in the future miss the mark on what we might expect out of their presentations and performance on this hardware. Kind of like when people keep pointing to like Xenoblade whenever we talk about how Pokemon games were presenting on the original Switch. Game Freak, you got to do better.
Security or style? Thanks to the bulletproof Erentite from Rayfield, your only worry is getting stuck in traffic.
But yeah, I've already made several more videos on Cyberpunk on Switch 2 than I'd ever planned on before it even bloody releases. Can't wait for it to actually land in my hands so I can do some real stuff with it. But every week or so, we just keep getting new drips of exciting information, new footage to remark over, so here we are. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty. Thank you as always to the patrons, and I will catch you next time.
Think we might be able to help each other. We could start with Rogue. Her and I go back to the Stone Age.
You are the ghost of Christmas past, asshole. Any friends you've had are either dead or so old their memory's gone.
Johnny Silverhand died a legend. Nobody forgets that.